open my mouth and express
Welcome
how I
to
feel about
news.
things and
FLO
put my
Destroyer.
opinion out there and try and it might not be popular, but just basically try and do it in a manner where there's no like subscribe to me, like my channel, buy this hoodie, buy this t-shirt or anything like that. Just a genuine person's observations. Having been online for like nearly 20 years, been through the ringer with the conspiracy stuff, and just putting my money where my mouth is, essentially. Balls on the line, essentially, and that's it, and that's what I've done. And I'll continue to do so. Not one of these people come back to me because they're all scared of me. They will not have the conversations with me that are required. And that's why they call me a troll, they call me X, Y, and Z, and that's how I view it.
You're a troll. You were using Kelly Marie Sleith. See, for all your virtue signalling here, I'm going to call you out. You and a team of guys that were using a lassie that was obviously a drug addict, and she was, while you're speaking here, you're handing this lassie orders backstage. I've been privy to the chat logs of you giving Kelly Marie Sleith orders to do this and do that and take notes of this and lists of that. Like you're some kind of mafia. Like you're like you waded into our scene and you came into our community for the conspiracy world, that's right. You weren't welcome. Neither was Karen Irving or Shiva Button or any of them other virtue signallers that came in trying to make out that you were, getting to the truth. And really what you were doing was bringing your personal issues and biases to our arena so you could act out your hatred towards women. And you targeted people like Kelly Marie, who was obviously a bit of a victim when it comes to her drug addiction. And she was neglecting her children, and you were contributing to that. So here's you claiming, right, that you're some anti-child abuse campaigner. Is that right? I don't know what yous are doing at Hoxted. But you've joined up with Shiva Button and you've turned on survivors. And Shiva, I've kind of dealt with you. You run about with Grobnob, the troll online, that threatens survivors with putting them at the bottom of the sea in submarines. Like, what's all that about? And the guy's a pure sexual deviant. And you coached the EDL and brought them in. And you're also making out as if you're a gatekeeper publicly, you know what I mean? And it's absolute bullshit. There's some of us here that are here to make sure that people like you and your wee acting pack here, acting out a psychodrama online with Androgyne and all these gangsters, we don't need yous here. All yous do is make things more difficult for survivors. And FLO, listening to this in hindsight, knowing that you were treating Kelly Marie like some sort of BDSM slave and you were her master, kind of makes me puke a wee bit, mate.
And it's just unfortunate that
self-righteous,
these people are basically cowards in my book.
Sleith. And if you not get connections to people in Fife College that know my ex and his wife, I'm just saying, it's funny how you all appeared, just when I'm bringing out the stuff about the Sheikh and the trafficking that was going on in Dubai. I wonder how much funding is coming into Fife via Dubai. Because you see it for Newcastle and you see it with Sod, don't you? Yeah. No, it's just worth mentioning. I'm not coming to any conclusions with that. I'm just saying.
Well, you've got a point, and you've got a point about the name calling and the trolley. Let's get to you, Karen. I mean, I think are you in Canada or in the United States? I don't know.
Well, I'm from
but you try no judge by appearance.
You're from Canada, but you're in the United States.
Canada as well.
UK.
You're in the UK.
We're not having some good experience with people from Canada at the minute. I will on this later.
Karen, what was your journey? I mean, Mike's
Jordan
given us
Peterson,
a brief bit of
Tom
background
Burke,
about, you know, his journey, and I think we can
Cantor,
everybody who's come that far and who's able to
Blanchard.
who's able to take in new information and perhaps disregard things that they perhaps held dear before. What was your journey like?
Well,
I'm really
the way
not
I got
interested
into it
in
was
this
kind
woman.
of odd. I had been basically just kind of bumbling along, living my life. I
Nosy
was aware on
Parkers.
some level of various conspiracy theories, but I found them,
Right.
most of them I just found.
So you and Flo are both conspiracy theorists, interested in conspiracy theories. We don't need you anywhere near the survivor movement. Right, just stay away, right?
I'm kind of funny. And some
Kind
were
of funny
interesting,
looking.
but some were just kind of amusing. And I really didn't know very much about
He's
the
kind
whole,
of funny looking.
you know, about the whole conspiracy milieu and who was involved and all of that
Yar.
stuff. My sister and I were writing a blog, and one day we noticed that we had this one post that we'd done 2 years previously that went completely nuts.
What's that
and why
about?
was this post getting so many hits? And they were all coming from this one place called Anger Fan, which I had never heard of before.
Right, so we all know Anger Fan. And if you're in the conspiracy world, you're saying you've never heard the Anger Fan. You know, oh, come on, Karen, right? I mean, really, you know, you come against Belinda and I don't see you as any different. And I've said it for the start, these are two sides of the same coin. Without Belinda, there's no you. Without you, there's no Belinda.
And I'd also never, okay, you're going to laugh, I had also never heard of David Icke.
Rubbish.
Because we were getting hits
Absolute
from there
lies
as
for a
well.
social worker.
And I was just like,
Ex-social
what the
worker.
hell? So we both kind of went and looked and
Very
couldn't
nasty
figure out
looking
what the
one.
connection was.
Very
Until we
sadistic,
realized that
but
what had
that, you know,
happened is that 2
judging
years
by appearances.
previously we had been to visit
I can see sadism in her eyes.
an art show. And the art show was done by a woman whose husband
She's got dead
was
eyes, man.
a trustee of the church
They're not good people.
in Hampstead that was implicated in the Hampstead satanic abuse hoax.
Right, now, he's come virtue signalling and posing as some sort of, you know, concerned citizens for the children. But you use their children just as much as the Hampstead hoax did. And let's be honest, that yous are all run about these children. Even this video that yous are doing just now, this guy raconteurs, every single one of yous, you know, under the guise of, you know, doing the right thing, doing the good thing, are actually getting some sort of narcissistic milkshake or financial or, you know, kudos or whatever it is. No, Shiva uses it to bolster this image that's completely fake. It being the godmother of the anti-child abuse movement. She started off on Kilroy Silk years ago. The ex-UKIP leader, the guy that started UKIP, one of them. He gave her a platform and she's came in posing like a new age hippie. But the reality of Shiva is that she brings in EDL people into child protection. And David Icke's crew. So you're telling us there that you'd never heard of David Icke, but you work quite closely with Shiva Button? I mean, that's just bull. Unless, you know, I'm getting mixed up with a timeline here. But these are all conspiracy theorists and tinfoil hats. And do you know what? Survivors are not. And the minute you come and approach and associate yourselves with us, you don't even realise that these are being used to discredit everything we say. I wish you would fuck off, man.
And all of these people were going to this woman's art. And do you remember how in Pizzagate they were going on and on and on about Marina Abramovic, the Serbian artist who does like very strange performance art, and how she was, and spirit cooking, that was the thing, and how that was satanic and it was a reference to Satanism.
Yeah, a Jewish woman who, I mean, I really don't know much about all this, to be honest, but for what I've seen there, these people that you're talking about, if somebody's Jewish, then it's all blood libel what they're doing. And I don't blame artists for noising these people up. If that's what they're doing. Now, nobody's saying that there isn't people out there that don't have masses and believe in Satan and all that. You know, whatever. There's people that believe in, you know, the flying spaghetti monster. People believe in, you know, all sorts of strange things, don't they? But why keep associating it with the survivor world and child abuse? There's an agenda at work here. You see, and in the minds of the public, there's this sort of... What's left in the public's mind is, all the survivors are all conspiracy theorists. And we know, right, you know, that conspiracies are prosecuted in courts of law all around the world every day. And that when people come in and say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, the majority of the time, it's to discredit a truth that you're saying. We do understand that there's techniques that any activist group will come up against, you know, when, like, say, you know, the environmental movement, the green movement, the activists there, you know, the government really moved out against them and infiltrated them secretly and stuff like that. And they've got techniques and tools that they use that are tried and tested, divide and conquer. You know, this video was really about calling FLO out, to be honest.
And blah, blah, blah. Well, apparently they translated the art at this
FLO,
particular
John
show
B.
as being
and
somehow
Kelly Marie.
satanic. And they were sort of, you know how if you look for something, you'll find many examples of it, no matter what you're actually looking at.
Really
they found it in they found it in this art, apparently. So all of a sudden we were getting all kinds of threats.
And obviously now
you know,
she's had
who
a
were
warning
we? And
because she was
you know, we
neglecting her
must
children.
be involved in the Secret Service or GCHQ or something. And we're both kind of going, no, we're just bloggers. Like, really,
I think if you were involved with GCHQ in any way, you wouldn't actually realise that you were being used by them. Karen, I don't think your intelligence level... I think you're flattering yourself there, you know.
Don't know what's happening here. But the more I looked into it, I saw some of the videos of the children, and then I saw the judgment that came out from Mrs. Justice Pop.
So under this guise of being a very concerned conspiracy theorist, you know, and someone who's coming in to sort out all these, you know, all these crazy activists, you're basically obsessing over children. Are you a survivor? Like, you know, when I say obsessing over children, the protection of children, are you doing that out? Is it because you're an ex-social worker? Like, where are you coming from here? It's just red flags that we've identified with any conspiracy theorist that comes out of our community. So you're not ingratiating yourself, you and FLO, and you never did, and you've fecked off, I've noticed. Well, we were here on the field before you, Karen and FLO, and we're still here. But you and Shiva and that have all disappeared, eh? I'm sure we'll see you soon enough.
Roughly on the 19th of March in 2015, and in which she basically said that this had been a gigantic hoax, and that the children had been tortured to make these confessions on video and so on and so forth. And that actually, things began to fall into place.
And I began your conspiracy theorist mind,
you know, to give me some evidence that what they were saying about these kids was actually true. As that began to happen, I started getting the whole, you're a shill, you're a pedo protector, you're a Satanist, you're a this, that, and the other. None of which is true. And so, yeah, I basically got involved out of anger.
Listen, every single one of us that got involved because we were abused, not out of anger, because we were being called names. Right, Cam? Your motivation is all wrong. The foundations of your house is off for the very start. You don't come into our community to help us motivated by personal vendettas and conspiracy theories, you know. So, you know, please take this as a friendly bit of advice from a survivor. Just stay away from our community, you and FLO and that. Leave us alone and stop making hits and a name for yourself off the back of these children that are being exploited here by all the adults involved, you included.
I was just pissed off at people sending me death threats. And so I changed,
So
changed
you
my
got involved because you were angry, because you were questioning things and people were threatening you because of it. Welcome to the battlefield. You will be called a paedophile. You will be attacked in every way, shape or form. Your family will be attacked. Everything you've ever done will be scrutinised. Every single imperfection and flaw on your physical person will be magnified and used against you. You will be attacked on a psychological level that you've never experienced before. I mean, you're no fit for this, Karen. Survivors, call ourselves warriors and survivors, and it offends a lot of people. And really what it is, it's because, we are the people who are supposed to be doing this fight here. And if people like you want to come in and help us, you need to leave the anger at the door, because it just clouds your judgment. We don't do angry. If we go down that road, it's just too dark. Do you know what I'm saying? So that kind of energy, we do angry, but we channel it. We're not letting it motivate and taint everything we do. We're motivated by our care and concern for other survivors, but also for ourselves. Is it wrong to say that? We've been treated shoddily by people who have got a lot of power, and it's injustice. And injustice on a level like this hurts everybody. So without getting all, we are the world and, we are the children about it, right? People like you and Shiva and that don't do us any favours. And FLO, sometimes I hear a decent guy in there and whatever, right? But it's the same as Cam. These are all motivated by this sort of mission to show everybody that you are right about everything. And that's conspiracy theorists and survivors. Obviously that motivates us, but that's not the only thing that motivates us. Do you know what I mean? That we're motivated by all sorts of different things when it comes to safeguarding. But if you're motivated by conspiracy theories and personal vendettas, you're no good to us. But she's right, you ended up no good to us. You ended up coming into our community and doing more harm than good.
Online name to Snake Logan, and I went from there.
So she went under a pseudonym because she was hiding her anger. Some journalists or other survivors use pseudonyms. Survivors of domestic violence, or different kinds of people use anonymity online, and it's no for nefarious reasons. Of course people do it for nefarious reasons, but there's also a lot of people that use it anonymity for other reasons. But Karen's using it for a nefarious reason. It's to fuel her. How dare you speak to me like that? I'm right about everything. I've been trying to convince the whole world round about me how right I am about everything all my life, and that's just, it stinks to me. Your motivation stinks,
who felt
guys.
the same that I did. We started a Google Plus group, and that's kind of how hosted research
You open yourself
began.
up to scrutiny coming onto this field.
One of the people in that group started the blog, and then when they basically, had other life commitments that they had to deal with, they turned it over to me, and I've been writing it since August 2014. 2015, I'm sorry. So
we're no fucking
that
about here.
Basically what brought me here. So I came in as a complete
This is real life. It's life and death. It's not conspiracy
I sort of
theory.
vaguely heard of the idea of the Illuminati and so forth. I read the Illuminati trilogy, but that's not exactly
I'll tell you what, conspiracy theorists are working for the enemy. When you look at it from the survivor's point of view, from your point of view, all you do is help the bad guys. And do you know what? Some of you are sitting with gangsters who are involved with the procuring and trafficking of children. And we know why you're involved in this field. Some of you use gangsters, and you know who I'm talking about. You're involved in our field because you're virtue signalling away for your own crimes that you've done in the 90s and in the 80s. This isn't about hurting people. This is about trying to change a culture so that survivors don't feel shame or fear to come forward. And people like you are making it really difficult for children to speak up. And now you've came to our attention. You're on our radar.
it's not quite the same thing. So, that was me basically. I just came in new, and I've spent the past 4 years kind of pedaling to catch up. I didn't start off
She
in
really
Euro.
works hard
but
at coming
yeah,
across
as
as
far
plausible. Her and FLO, they work hard. They try to show you that they're no being motivated out of nastiness and self, a vendetta coming, and it's coming from a place of being selfish. You know what I mean? It's not about survivors at all.
as
And that,
Mr. Richard,
it's no
the interesting
surprising
thing
to
about him is that he
advantage
was
of
actually
Kelly.
one of the very first people to be involved in the Hampstead hoax. And it was may or may not have.
I just can't go on listening to them, But I just wanted to make those points, which I've probably already done. So he rattles on a bit when he starts, but see, I just wouldn't be listening to these people.
So when you look at politics and money, both being complete bullshit, what does it leave you with, other than child abuse and sport?
Well, there's
So he's talking about child abuse as entertainment. And that's what, we're getting a wee bit sick of this now. And this is why I had a go at Jessica when she told us to mind and tune into Netflix. I'm on Netflix tonight on this series about missing women that turn up murdered. And they were doing Anna's case on this series. I had noticed it had been advertised. And this was how she was promoting it because she was on it. She was telling her fans, a lot of whom are survivors, some of us who had cases that were involved in this series that she was speaking about, and she was telling us to go and binge watch, It's making me feel sick how they're actually trying to mix entertainment in with child abuse. Can you see what's going on here?
All the other crap that happens in the newspaper.
What's the next step? Doing this is a set of stairs leading down into a basement here. What's the next step after seeing child abuse as entertainment? People are psychologically going to a dark place through the internet here. That's no good for us.
As well, the stuff regarding tragedies, etc.
It's changing
Whatever
the chemistry
stuff
in
goes
your
on in the
brain.
day-to-day stuff. I didn't really look at newspapers myself these days. I try to look at things with discernment. I'll absorb an article, I'll look at the slant on it, and then I'll take that off and then form my view based on the information provided. And if it doesn't provide information based on facts and evidence, then it doesn't get used and incorporated into what I'm saying, how I'm going forward. I don't absorb it that way.
Right, we get it. If you're saying it, we've got to believe you because you put things through a rigorous scientific process before you bring it to the table. Is that what you're saying?
But I can go on multiple YouTube channels. Like you're quoting UK Column there, right? UK Column have jumped on the back of basically every single high-profile case that they can get into, and
but just like you're doing just now,
have basically caused damage with the way they've operated, and they've done it.
What, like you did when you came into our world and jumped onto our causes?
In a manner that basically they try to sell for the angle that the mainstream media is all corrupt, the government's all corrupt, everything's corrupt and that.
You came for the angle that females are the majority, are all bad motivated. You're just a misogynist. The guys that you go about with, sexualising women in chats. And there was a few of yous gathering online to do it. And was that Green Party member, Richard Firth? Was he not involved? And he's well known for being a misogynist and attacking women for years. He's been doing it for years. The Sisterhood's been well aware of this guy for years. And you's all got online, and do you know what he's done? He's attacked Angie Power Disney, remember? I'm no fan of Angie. I can see, a wee toty bit of good in that woman at times, and then I see, how it's just another human being who seems to have this clickbait thing going on about abuse, and a lot of these people turn on survivors that turn to them for help. It's like Shiva, and they two fight with each other, Shiva and Angela. It's because they're so alike. Yous two should be pals. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, there's a lot of unhealed stuff going on there, and I'm not interested, Shiva, in you or Angela's stuff. It's very creepy and slimy, if you ask me. There's a really weird energy. And then when I've travelled down a wee tunnel to find out who you were, you're sitting with Grobnob. I mean, that guy's like... You want to put him up, you know, with people like Belstaffy and let her, you know, observe him and give you some feedback as to who you're sitting with. So, but, you know, we spoke when I was in Dubai, and I was in a terrible situation, and I tried to reach out to you. And I knew I couldn't reach out to Janie Godley either, two supposedly high-profile survivors. And he's just had absolutely no empathy. And if anything, it was the opposite. Yous were spiteful and nasty. And it was just like, don't take attention away from me with your problem. I was so sickened by your behaviour. And you know, the common denominator with this is misogyny. Shiva, Janie, FLO, John B. I mean, Angie, even you, we're getting internalised misogyny to deal with here. And you've had years of it through the grooming in the church. How much we're hated and we hate ourselves as women. And we'll sit in agreement with men that hate us as well, you know, and people that come with really bad, mucky, murky, muddy motivations that end up just completely doing damage, FLO. So every single finger you're pointing, buddy, where are you? I want to see you. I want to get you on alive. I want to light you up and the people round about you and the Fife College staff that seem to be getting involved in trolling people online, survivors in particular. Why is Fife College staff trolling survivors? In particular, survivors that have just exposed one of their husbands in a trafficking ring. It's really weird that, innit, Shiva, how these dots join up.
We're going to tell you the truth and expose all this kind of stuff, right? Well...
Aye, we are, actually.
Fair enough, right? But when you've got to do that, you need to be factual, because it makes you know better.
Right, listen, FLO. We've lived years on the planet before you even came into this fight. Do you get to... do you ever hear how arrogant you sound? You rock up and then you tell us how to be, how we should be. It is so patronising. You obviously think you're of a superior intellect. Nobody could live with that, mate. You're everything you criticise in these women that you hate. And I was one of them. And you tried to troll me. Huge mistake. And I don't make threats. I mean, I just expose people like you claim to do. I just show people what people like you do. And if people want to come at me and whatever, then that's fine. I'm alright with that. But it doesn't change the fact that Yusuf came at our cause and it's put yous onto people's radar. I'm just saying.
Better than the mainstream media who you're trying to expose. Except you're putting yourself in the position of pointing at these guys saying they're full of shit, whilst you're full of shit at the same time.
Yeah.
That makes...
Listen, that's right, and you have to be rigorous, but do you know what? Can you point that high-powered perception at yourself? No. FLO, look, you maybe feel a kind of semi-intelligent person, right? But you're not fooling anybody, really. I just want you to know that. You didn't feel Bada Bing, did you? And, you know, we're not putting him up on a pedestal either. But one thing about Bada is he's quite insightful.
Makes you know better in my book, right? And when you're taking cases
Fuck your book.
that have been
Take your book and shove it right
concept...
up your fucking jacksie. you and that fucking dead-eyed fucking Irvin person, that sadistic band of women that you were sitting with that actually hate female survivors. And, you know, are just so much more sophisticated than the Andy Devines and all the rest of them that yous were going after. Because obviously these people have got a lower intelligence, you know, than some of yous guys. But, you know, at the end of the day, FLO, a pseudo-intellect. Nobody here was claiming to be an intellectual or any sort of a, you know, university head. In fact, I went out of my way to avoid you. Like, fuck. Because it's full of people like you and your fucking cousins or whoever it is that work in Fife College. You know, trolling survivors. So let's hear you.
And stuff like that. When you, like, I believe Brian Gerrish also defended Martin Smith, who was a convicted paedophile.
See there, you're regurgitating stuff that myself and other people brought up about Brian Gerrish because he came here causing chaos for survivors. And we knew that, I said to, it was a group called Innocent Voices at the time. I don't know if you'll notice, but there's a lot of people copied names at organisations that were there a while back. But anyway, I'm getting off course. Let me hear the rest of this.
He hung himself, his missus killed his 2 kids and that. And Brian Gerrish was proclaiming his innocence. Right.
This group, Innocent Voices, had brought... Well, they were trying to put themselves onto the stage. And really what they were was that they were being sort of controlled by this sort of, you know, this guy who wanted to be a gangster or he was a gangster, whatever, right? Black Hill Division. And I'm really, 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 really wary of them. But it was them that exposed people, survivors, to Gerrish and Maloney up here. And the sort of leader of the pack says to me, she says, what do you think of Bill Maloney and Brian Gerrish? I mean, this is when, what are we looking at here? 2010? Somewhere round about there. I might be wrong exactly on it, 11. Somewhere round about there. What do you think of Bill Maloney? What do you think of Brian Gerrish? And I says, I can't believe that you're even asking me that when you don't know yourself that that's a pair of wrongings, I says to her. And so, you know, she's got me introduced to people like Sandra Barr, who was David Icke's psychic, and she clicked like on my music page and she was sort of, you know, sending me things here and there and all that, and Hazel was trying to program me with all this stuff about the racist negative blood crew and how they're all special and the chalice, basically. You know, I've heard it all before. How many times in different in different ways have I heard this story manifesting itself? I don't know. It's very dangerous, and the people around about it are really dangerous because they think that they're a superior bloodline who've been cheated out of something. And so they've got a war going on with these people that are obviously the usurpers of the throne, you know, and they're purebloods. I mean, obviously all these culty movements and people like this use a seed of truth about something that's truthful, and then they run because there's so much other uncertainty and mystery around about it, you know. And you've got people like Andy O'Kelly sitting pontificating on Facebook and trying to tell people what this means and what that means, and that they're a wizard and this is the interpretation of that, try to set themselves up like some kind of Charles Manson, wee cult fucking wannabe 13-stepper, getting into survivor groups to try and target vulnerable alcoholic women. I see your game, O'Kelly, because that's what Innocent Voices were doing as well. And when one high-profile case was going through the courts, I had been in the background working. It was one of my friends who had been going through it as a witness, just quietly working in the background with him. And this group, Innocent Voices, were supposed to be helping him. And he was trying to kill himself the night before the trial. And he reached out to them for help. And she messaged me, the leader of this group, and said, he's just looking for attention. Ignore him. But I knew that he wasn't. And so we got somebody to go down and get him, and it was lucky they did. And so this was the kind of people, Innocent Voices and Bill Maloney and Brian Gerrish, who treated a survivor going through a real case like that. But none of them had ever went to the police to report about their abusers. But they were melting the sympathy. I don't think that's what was really going on there. I think some people might have been looking, madams and pimps were looking for vulnerable women so that they could prostitute them out and turn them into slaves. And that sadistic female, just like my Auntie Mary, Joe Fury's wife, who hates other females, even children, and actually lets her man abuse them. You know, this is what we're looking at here. With this female that yous are all giving rewards to. You know, Susan Boyd, you're getting rewarded. You know, darling, I know what that pedo's like, you know. He puts you up on a pedestal. Do you know we used to call him Charmer? And some of the women that he slept with would make you feel ashamed to even sit next to him, never mind expose your vein to him, right? So these are people who exploited alcoholics in Tornmusk, an old alcoholic woman. And her name was Doreen. And they all laugh at Doreen. But I don't laugh at what they done to Doreen. Because it was the start of a lifetime of behaviour of sexual offending. And their mothers ought to be fucking ashamed of themselves. You know, little Lord Fauntleroys, spoiled wee bastards that have never had a boundary put down or told that they were wrong. Stu says to me, Tracy, Heppy and Stephen were torturing squirrels up the wood, and the Waynes all went up to tell Margaret, Stephen's ma, and she chased him away and told him to shut up and never done anything about it. And he was allowed to torture animals, him and Heppy, and it was encouraged. Now there's something wrong with people that want to hurt other beings, you know, other life forms. They put them through pain when it's not about survival, or, you know, obviously killing them to eat them for survival and for food. But they're torturing a wee life. You know, these are the people that we're warned about. And they end up being used by special branch, special forces. And they don't tell their wives about it. And they are always away. And it wasn't until I read Kate's story that I started putting two and two together. And then you ask yourself, how come two of these men have came and tried to seduce me? One when I was 14 and the other one when I was 20. You know, and both of them coming for, you know, military, let's just say that. Navy.
Despite him being sentenced, right?
Navy's...
And the same with the Holly Gregg stuff.
Honestly,
the Melanie shot.
The Navy, you know, do you know what's wrong with these? These are all sharters, and these are resentful because people like me are not sharters. And we didn't want to peg yous because you just want to be on a submarine somewhere with your fellow jolly sailors, and you just can't admit it. You know, because in your military, and then it's the same with the boys for the scheme in the west of Scotland, they'll never admit that they're gay. So they're just always at the football, do you know what I mean? Always at the gym. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're always hanging about with guys and doing guy things and putting their guys first. You know, like, talk about tell us who you are without telling us who you are. You know what I mean? We've got a culture of men in Dubai as well. This, I observed it, you know, who are openly gay, they're just gay. And it's an open secret. Like, they walk about hand in hand, the men, and gay, in Dubai, in IKEA. I just remember seeing a gay couple and going, right, they're walking about hand in hand. And this is it's the Indians. He says that's their culture. He says they'll just walk about with their arms around about each other, and they do. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking here about a homophobia that exists within the religion. And so men that are gay can't even be who they are, you know. And it produces this kind of, this weird, you know, women have to be invisible because they hate them. It's not just about lack of self-control with the heterosexuals, you know what I mean? It's about, look, we really don't want to have to put up with you at all. And I don't know where that comes from. I mean, it's really took me, over the last 5 years, it's been so depressing reading feminist texts, and because, you know, what I had always sort of theorised and philosophised about in my own mind and thought was my own conclusions have been written about for years by other women. You know what I mean? I thought, God, that was my thought. You know what? No. I've got, you know, obviously, I haven't get that conceit to think that, you know, I'm the first person to think these thoughts. But I'm just a natural feminist, and when I read the texts, I just thought, God, that's so me. Like, I should have been reading this years ago. You know, this is where I fit in. And really what it is a journey, and that's part of my consciousness waking up and just saying, you know, you missed this. You know, come back and give it your attention, and see that you're validated in the world, that other people feel this way. You're not alone. And this struggle's been going on against the patriarchy for how long? I mean, Cleopatra was like ruthless, you know. But it's all about her sexuality. At the end of the day, she was bathing in, you know, milk and stuff. And who she was pumping. I mean, it's just, does that not speak of, it's like the British press, it's like, they show their interest, do you know what I mean? You know, it just shows you that historians are just like, just sex mad on the brain to the detriment of everything else, you know, when it came to military history, etc., etc. And she spoke 9 languages. I didn't know that, but I knew she was having a fling because were they not married? Her and the dude. So, you know, this is, you know, feminism. It's like, why was Eve so scapegoated? Do you know what I mean? Like, how come Adam just constantly points to her? There's questions that, you know, when I was a teenager in the church, like, why? How come he's not saying, God, look, I took the apple for Eve, man. I took it myself. It wasn't really much to do with her. She had it. But don't blame her. Blame me for taking it. I mean, that would be a stand-up guy, you know what I mean? But, you know, here we had this sort of blueprint for the scapegoat of women that came after it, and still to this day it's really depressing me, you know. But I know I'll come out of this. It's the January blues. We all get it. But since Wayne Couzens and David Carrick, I've had this sort of heaviness, you know, at the back of the mind, just thinking about other victims and how hard it was for me to come forward, and how it's even more difficult. It's almost impossible, and how it's took me years and years and years to see past my own naivety and that hero status I'd put the police in, because, you know, when that day I nearly got abducted was such, you know, had such an impact on me, obviously, and I've been processing it the past year. because the press have brought it all up, you know. Tom Wood, Simon Cowell, Netflix, Mark William Thomas have all been profiting. The other newspapers and the police are fighting in amongst ourselves. You know, we've got serious cover-ups going on in real time. And what I didn't appreciate was Brian Gerrish and these people coming in and appearing as though they were here as, you know, white knights, incoming heroes. What a lot, you know. I says to Innocent Voices, I says they're abusers. I went with my gut when I was talking about Sandra Barr earlier. You know, she was kind of coming, sliding up close, I think, you know, because she saw what my granny had, and what my granny saw in me was, you know, just an ability to see right through the bull. But, you know, we're taught to shame that. We're taught to ignore it, shame it, put it away, don't listen to it. Stephen would say to me for years, "Oh, Carla, you can't just make these snap judgments. Oh, it's called your first gut instinct." And, you know, I'm not saying... I lean more towards evidence and science, but I know, in my knower, I call it your knower. We coined that term years ago in the church. I mean, you know in your knower. Aye, there's a strange, you know, I can't back that up with science, but I believe one day we'll be able to, you know. I just think that the human brain, through we're evolving, you know, that we've had to adapt in ways that we've got, you know, tentacles in our hair, if you like. No, I've heard this theory that, you know, the longer you grow your hair, the more psychic you are and all this kind of stuff. I don't believe in psychic powers or magic. I think what people call magic and psychic powers are just completely natural phenomenons that there'll be a perfectly logical explanation for at some point in the proceedings. You know, we're just not there yet. You know, ESP, knowing when something's happening to somebody you care about, having somebody on your mind, you know, all that stuff isn't evidence of anything within itself. But it's fascinating. Anyway, I'm waffling here and I'm getting away off the point. But, you know, just go back to this bore.
Whistleblowing on MPs, and that's a load of bollocks. She's not naming any MPs. She was badly treated by the care system. She's been let down by the care system, and that's as far as it goes. She's a mental health patient. There's no...
See, you take a lot of pleasure in having an attack at her. And, you know, I know Melanie isn't... I think, you know, obviously yous are all focusing on her crimes and stuff. It's just more the fact that I seen that she was exploited by the extreme right wing. But you're attacking her personally on every level so that you can discredit Gerrish and stuff, right? And what I'm saying is, leave her alone. Attacking somebody that they've put forward as a victim is you falling for the trap. So it makes you look bad if you attack Melanie or Holly. So we're dealing with really sophisticated intelligence, Royal Navy level type people who were hanging about with IRA. I mean, let's, as they say down south, let's have it right. You know? What's going on here? Well, it seems to me that both sides are really nervous. And why would that be? Concora? Does that get anything to do with it? You know? The intelligence services using survivors in their blackmail operations, ensuring that we will never be taken seriously, get justice, or have any sort of peace in our lives. Is this allowed? Well, some of us are brave enough to maybe try and take it on, or stupid enough. But, you know, fortune favours the brave and all that. Listen, Flo, you and Karen weren't being courageous or, pro-survivor or pro-safeguarding for the children, which was why I started listening to you in the first place. I thought you were coming from a safeguarding point of view, but you have just both exposed yourselves on Raconteur's News there, and you have told everybody you've got involved in this because you have been frustrated conspiracy theorists all your life, trying to convince everybody around about you that you are right about everything. Am I right? I've got both of you down to a T, haven't I? If I was to speak to your nearest and dearest, they would tell me the exact same thing. He's Mr. Know-It-All. Insufferable. I lived with one. And just to be contrary, as my granny would call them, just a contrary bastard, Tracy. Just because you like conflict and controversy, and it feeds you, it gives you a wee dopamine hit. You've got your endorphins flying about your brain, you're all there with your keyboard, and this makes you happy. And it gives you a feeling of control, and all the things that happen out there that you can't control, everything's alright, because, as long as you can debunk this conspiracy theory and set the world to rights. Oh my God, can you imagine being John B or Bada or Flo's, woman or partner, and having to go to bed every night yourself? You know what I mean? Because they're sitting arguing on the internet with strangers.
Anywhere else in society put her, and that's how she's ended up where she's ended up. And part of that is the psychosis that people like Brian Gerrish, etc., inject into these people. They wind them up and they push them out.
Right, psychosis now, but are you a trained doctor now, Flo? It's just the way that you speak with authority on things, as though you've got authority when you don't have. You're a conspiracy theorist.
That's how they do it. And then they ride in the back, safe in the knowledge that if anything comes back, it goes to the person saying it. So you can put people on your platform to get to say whatever you want, to get the hits, that suits your narrative, because
you're criticising the guest, the guy that's having you on as a guest. You're speaking about him. You're obviously offending him. Look at his face, and he doesn't like you. That's because your voice carries your aggression, that hacking thing, and obviously you've smoked too much.
Narrative of the UK column is a political narrative, as you well know, through the British Constitution Group, how they were funded by Noakes, who was trying to be the UKIP leadership at one point.
This isn't news.
If you go to their website, everything is monetised. There's stuff behind paywalls. They're selling DVDs and merchandise. They are no better than the people that they proclaim to expose.
Do you have some sort of eBay site? And were you paying Kelly Marie when you were giving her orders to be your secretary? To take notes for you? And ordering her about, God, see if you'd have spoke to me like that. Come and try it.
And the worst thing is about it is they didn't actually have any real supervision.
Really
right? At least you've got a kind of recourse with anything that appears in a newspaper or that, where you can get retractions published, etc. There's
he's not a nice guy.
All that kind of stuff. But people online seem to think they can say anything about anybody, label folk as paedophiles, obfuscate for actual cases, child abuse.
Tell us about it. And maybe I'm being harsh as you are, in judging you. But a day I get a really bad energy off of you, Flo. I don't buy the whole virtue signalling that what you're doing here is a noble cause. I see a really nasty, bitter, lonely, vindictive guy that wants revenge on women. And yous concern me because yous flock together online. And yous organise and yous use women like Kelly Marie. And yous are all trying to put this away now. And yous are all trying to hide for it, you and John B. And the others that have tried to exploit her. And I'm no in any way standing up for the person who neglected their children. What I'm pointing out here is the fact that you thought she was really vulnerable and you tried to exploit her. These are coming up against child abuse, but yous are working with child abusers. Neglect is a form of child abuse. Remember how you and Kelly were making out that yous were, she was making out she was up at your mum's and yous had this great friendship and all that? Is there a sex industry involved here? Port Glasgow, Skermilly, Greenock, Leith. We know that they're hotspots for trafficking activity. So are we bringing out a network of people here who like giving orders to women behind closed doors, who might pay in order to be able to give those orders to women behind closed doors? Do you see any connection between your campaign against child abuse and your exploitation of trafficked women? Are we maybe like dealing with some personal skeletons here and acting it out publicly? Calm, FLO, Shiva. Did survivors draw you out and get you to reveal yourselves? Using your own intellect against yourselves, your own conceit, knowing that if we just brought you together and gave you a platform and a mic, that you would go for it, and you did.
Resources away from people who need it, and then feed people's Brexit. The new right in this country is the biggest thing that's going to happen in this country in the last 50 years. Since World War II, there is nothing bigger happened in this country than what's going to happen in the next 2 years, right? It's been voted on, it's going through, right? People are pissed off that this government has let them down. We have got to the deadline and they've not been...
Everybody's completely gone to sleep when you speak. Have you noticed that?
Prepared. They've not made a deal and they're just arguing. Meanwhile, everybody else who's got to deal with the consequences of this can't make business.
It's that tone as well. You're such a know-it-all. You're so conceited. And, see this game, these are all gamers. Men in your 40s and yous are still gaming. And then yous come into troll feminists, and yous act as though, like John did, Big John B. Acted as though he was this sort of ex-Green Party member lefty for Glastonbury. When really he's all about the seedy boobs. No, it's really, 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 really sleazy and seedy. No, him and Peter are great pals. And we're talking about Leyland Gaunt here. You know what I mean? We're talking about people who are really, really, Wigan is a lovely place, but there's some really, really sluggy snails down there. Yorkshire, Leeds, Manchester. Lovely places, but they've got these really horrible people. There was a lovely nurse from Manchester called Julie, and she was married to a man who had fathered children all over the world, but really this guy who worked for a big trafficking ring over in Dubai, and he left her to die alone of cancer. She was she didn't deserve that. No, but that trafficking ring are now turning on the other cancer survivors and the other survivors of their ring, and they're maybe paying people like FLO. Because it turns out that they're all connected up to the same college. It's funny. Sure it is. how you've all infiltrated yourselves into colleges and unis and fire protection, police, and you wear this mask of respectability and you speak so eloquently about safeguarding. But there's some survivors, and we watch the wall for yous, and we can see he's a mile away. John B, we knew, we could see that your bluff was called. We do understand that you're friends with people who are men that want to come into women's spaces, and you want to access vulnerable women, and you can't act that out because you've got an image to keep up of being a woman protector. But it really does hide the actual real loathing. I mean, Norman style. That's what we're talking about here. And the threat, yous are bullies, and you always say, it's played Darvo down to a T. Oh, we're coming after bullies online. You're the online bully. And I'm not defending any of the people you come against. I'm just calling you out for your hypocrisy.
Go forward. There's uncertainty in there, and it's adding to this feeling of discontent where politicians not representing their views, right? So that's where we are.
Tolerable.
So there's a market there for people to gobble up that discontent and channel it into their causes in order to direct that energy.
Right, so, okay, so you've broke down the psychology of some of these people. Fabulous. Well done.
Politically towards where they want it to be. And that is where the danger lies, because disillusionment that is in this community is not being channeled in the right way, it's being channeled in all the wrong ways.
Your disillusionment about not being personally successful in your life is channeling your pathology, Flo. And you need to sit down in the chair and you need to listen rather than speak for a change. Because you're nae master of a dungeon, pal.
With nae solutions, resources that are getting filtered out that are supposed to be going to child abuse cases. Like John Wedger's raised 12 grand.
Where's Sparkle, by the way? Remember Sparkle that was shouting the N-word? Because that's what we're dealing with here with you lot. Why would you run about with people that would shout the N-word and then try to take a soapbox out and preach to other people? And where is this Sparkle? I'm still waiting on her threats to materialise. Like when we went in to take on Brian Harvey, and she was just like, nobody else is taking him on, I'm taking him on. And it was just like, oh my God, oh no, I've got another Jenny Godley. Do you know what I mean? It's like, champion survivor. It's all about the fame and the name and the lights and the sparkle. Some of us are just working in the background. We're not about all that because we're genuine. You get me, Sparkle?
On the back of child abuse, right? He gave
up,
£2 grand
anytime.
to a charity that had 350k
what you and Shiva were doing to
of the
survivors
lorry
was out
funding
order.
into it. It is meaningless. He spent 10k on camper vans, hotels, and whatever other nonsense with Facebook ads and YouTube ads that he's...
Oh my God, he's giving the Scots a ready. Scots are cringing right now, Flo. Do you know? But then we do have the self-cringe, we do. It's terrible.
We need to get out of that. A single child with that, really. The money there is a lot of wasted things, and it's attention on stuff that isn't even real. That's what's scary here. He's going down the Wilfred Wong satanic abuse thing, which is the well-worn track of the evangelical preacher who will go out there.
See, there you're copying everything that you've soaked up for listening to people like myself and other ex-evangelicals who pointed this out, A lot of these observations are the observations that you've came to yourself. At least Bad I had a wee bit of original thought, or so I thought, and then I found out it was his uncle who was sort of running the group and typing a lot of the script. Bloody pretenders. it's so disappointing when you find out people aren't what they sort of appear to be. Bada was such a letdown because he made it like he was a lone warrior when he was anything but a pure mammy's boy, you know what I mean?
And garner the Christian fear about satanic child abuse and that, and they'll collate their audience.
And they've all turned into Bible preaching Christians. Look, I know it's the chosen religion of the establishment to keep us all in line. Do you know what I mean? But Bada, come on, man. You know, conforming to that. You know, what are you doing? We all know it's just like your pseudo-Buddhism and your pseudo-nihilism and your pseudo-intellect. You know, you'll cast it off when you're done. You know, you've heard some of us speaking about the code and the scripture and the King James, and you went away and you had to educate yourself because we were telling you stuff that you didn't know and you can't bear that. Huh? Listen, some of us have been learning the ways of the 33 without even realising it by the 33 when about us when we were growing up, and so, you know, we've just sort of grown up with it. And then you get people like yourself that come along and speak about it as if it's something special, isn't it? You know, this is Xenu that we're speaking about here. You know, this mystery, the brotherhood. No, we're talking about it's just like Scientology. The mystery is that you fell for the fucking mystery. Typical men. You know, you just need to tell them that there's a secret somewhere and you've got them under your control. Not that I would use these methods, do you know what I mean? But, you know, reverse psychology is a thing, isn't it, John B?
They will milk them dry, and that's what's happening here. They are building their own wee following that they can sit and point at satanic child abuse and profess to be fighting child abuse while lining their own back pockets and flattening their own egos, and that's what's dangerous.
It's
Talk about self-projecting. And you're so hard on you know, you'd be hard on other people, but I bet you're not so hard on yourself, Flo. I'm hard on myself and soft on other people. That's the rule. But I think you've got it the other way around. I think you're quite hard on people and you're awful easy on you. I can't stand quality. I mean, these are the qualities that you're trying to hide behind this persona that you're purveying right now. Flow destroyer, which, you know, you're not destroying anything and you're not in the flow. You're in a toxic pool, you know, a sort of bad motivation. He's like a bad 70s band, the Hawkstead crew, do you know what I mean? And please don't get the band back together. Your name's Mike Dice. I'm no doxing you, you know, you put that out there yourself. Everybody knows that you're Mike Dice, whereby I think we've all behaved mental online, right? We've all had our introduction to the internet, you know, and it affects different people in different ways. Sure, it does. But I think that we're going to have to look at this kind of phenomenon. When we had road rage in the 90s, I think we're going to have to look at internet rage, where road rage was about raging because you had the safety of the car, and, you know, we call it a phenomenon. Maybe human beings are just angry, and we were told that that's not how it should be, and we're surprised about it, but it's something that we really need to deal with in reality, is that, you know, we've got rage. And a lot of it's fueled by people like you, Flo. But I haven't got any more time to get. This is so boring and just so boring.
Something that I've seen that when people come across these stories and stuff like this, and we're at an hour now, so we're going to have a break in a minute. But I'm just
going to carry on talking about that even 2 hours.
Whereas, like, I had to come to the point where, like, this video popped up on my feed, and it was like this young boy, and he started talking about stuff, and I was like, I just put it off instantly. I was like, what is this crap? And why does this even come up on my feed? And it's not because I didn't care about abused children, it's because I didn't want to watch stuff like that. there's something wrong with folk that sit and want to watch this kind of thing, in my opinion. It's
What? So there's a seed of truth depending on the motivation, but you're speaking about people, survivors. Survivors are alright to watch other survivors, if you get me. We're allowed to share and be in our community and have our stories and stuff, and that's how we have community. And you know, there's a fine line here, because it is being used as entertainment, and there is something wrong with people that use it for entertainment, but you're omitting the fact that there's people there like survivors who will get a lot of help for like Shy Keenan's book. Now that's no my cup of tea, and I don't want to read. A lot of survivors don't want to read details. That's right, but we get a lot of support, encouragement, hope, from each other's stories in general, if that makes any sense. You know, so basically like how it affects us, rather than the details of the case all the time. You know, we get comfort and encouragement for realising that we're not alone in how we're treated by society. We're all affected by anti-victim prejudice. For those of us that have been police, you know, we've had queens sit on thrones that are survivors, and still, you know, as a group, we're maligned as a group. And the prejudice against survivors is just unbelievable. Predators have managed to associate us with conspiracy theorists. And then, you know, as we wrote years ago, one of their motivations will be to really attack and undermine their victims, because that's obviously in their benefit. And that's exactly what we've been seeing the past 10 years. And, you know, Savile's a ruse, right? Savile's a ruse because he was never convicted in a court of law. We know that Savile abused people because we believe the many survivors who have came forward bravely and corroborated stories when they didn't know each other. And, you know, that was what had been prevented. It was prevented by people. It maybe John Beale, his family will know, in West Yorkshire Police. And these are the really dangerous predators on this island. And, you know, we all know some of them worked with Sutcliffe and Savile's part of a team, and so many women went missing on this island at that time, unaccounted for. And that one day this will be read back like Jack the Ripper is read back to us, and these women will be mostly faceless and nameless for the most part, and we'll all have the focus on this Jack the Ripper guy, who will be glamorised, and there'll be programmes made about him because the establishment that is in control is obsessed with the bad guy. And it's no good, people. It speaks of, you know, who's in control when they're always self-promoting like that. And listen, FLO, this is what yous are doing, whether yous want to dress it up in the guise of you know, concern about safeguarding and concern about child abuse. You know, you can dress it up however you like. You guys are angry. Somebody hurt you, and this is your vehicle to show everybody. By God, we've all been hurt, FLO. We've all had our hearts broken, love.
so wrong on many levels. You know what I mean? It's like I understand like folk watching it and coming across it because it's forced in your throat. It comes into your YouTube playlist. There's folks sharing it on social media. So before
how do you think survivors feel when we can't get away from it in the media? Sometimes we don't want to speak about it. You know what I mean? Sometimes we want to be able to think about it and forget. You know, but like you just said there, but you know, it comes from the outside at us, and it's triggering. But this is one of the things that survivors have got to navigate, and it's attacks on our nervous systems. And so people go like that, oh, shut up and stop complaining. No, we're not complaining, it's just that we're carrying a heavy load here. And you've no got that load, so you can stand there and criticise for the luxury of your position. But be careful, man, because some people might pick up boulders and fling them at you because you're provoking us by telling us to toughen up and buckle up. You know, some people have got empathy. And because people that have went into the business of show, that bitchy world, but I hate that word. But it, you know, the male bitchiness I'm talking about, you know, for men, and the jealousy, you know, that whole ballet world puts it into, you know, the narcissism. People at androgyne that, you know, they just wanted to be something they never were. And then even when they do, you know, even when somebody does become a famous ballerina or an opera singer at the top of their game, it's never what it appears to be. And they find that out as well. And so everything that these people androgyne, they put all this sort of worship onto this thing, you know, and it's just narcissism by proxy. People that are attracted to the business of show are Machiavellian, multifaceted. Now, then you've got the artists who, you know, they're not like that, you know, they're just gifted and talented, and the business of show gives them a platform to entertain us, and it's brilliant, and that's great, and we want more of that. But really, you know, I'm talking about predators that have kind of taken over the police and the business of show to make profit from it. Of course they will. Gangsters are going to extort, aren't they? And colonise. And so, you know, Big FLO and Big Karen and Big Shiva were going to come on with Wavy and all the rest of them, and they were going to put the world to rights, Swinties. And the whole time, you were barking orders to a woman that was neglecting her children.
Part of the time, willingly or unwillingly, you're going to come across it.
Yeah.
And then, based on the particular slant that video is sold on, or the narrative, the tagline that's going along with that video is what you're going to process for it. And if it's put out there with folk who are connected to the original abusers and they're basically promoting that storyline, that's what becomes a popular narrative. Because guess what? It doesn't profit to go online and say, look, by the way, there wasn't a load of kids abused in Hampstead. There was only these 2 kids abused, and they were abused by the 2 folk who should have been looking after them at the time. And that doesn't get you hits. It doesn't get you folk to your channel. It doesn't get you any merchandise to sell or any of that. And that's where the problem lies, is because these people are then operating dishonestly in my book.
So, yeah, it's the same as yours, is that these promote fictions, right? And all this energy is then directed towards the fiction, while genuine victims and genuine survivors are being targeted by the Wayne Couzens and the David Carricks, who are abusing their office to actually target us, hunt us down, use their network to silence us, intimidate us. And, you know, people only see what we punch in online, or maybe what we see online. They've got absolutely no idea what's going on in real life. That's the biggest thing here. And you know, I do myself no favours by even addressing some of the trolls. I do get that, but some of them do need to be addressed, just so that, you know, it kind of takes the fuel out of their engine, if you like. That, you know, that they must know that they're dealing with, you know, they're promoting a fiction when they're attacking people whose cases have been on record and have been documented on their medical notes. And, you know, nobody here needs to bring out medical notes and put them online, because my family and everybody round about me knows that that's what's happened. And I don't need to call on them to back me up for it. It happened because I said it happened. Because I wouldn't say that abuse happened if it didn't. And that's what we're really getting down to here, is attacking the word of every survivor, not just me. And trying to lump us in with Carol Beach. That was a BBC operation. Now, what you were speaking about there is what's left in the minds of the public. Aye, that's right. What's been left in the minds of the public with Carol Beach and Andrew Ash, and who helped them? The BBC, Bill Maloney, Brian Harvey, et al. And they'll not be forgotten. And thank goodness for Paul Aman. You know, I'm not going to vouch for every single survivor that comes along, but I'll vouch for their work when it stands up. And he's got them flatting. But I understand that he's playing a very dangerous game. Well, he's not playing the game, the BBC's playing the game with him, and that he's got absolutely no choice but to take part. But you, Flo, you jump in and you feign concern, and you feign empathy, and you feign, you know, noble characteristics like Shiva, you know, as if you care about people, and you don't. You know, let everybody know at the same time that you and Karen, the whole team of yous, were coming against all these people and criticising them, that yous were guilty, the very thing that yous were standing on the platform. Now, I'm not here to condemn. I'm here to say, this isn't working. What are you doing? You might not be monetising your channel, but yous are getting some payback, whether that be emotional, through reputation, through standing, through trying to... What I see is people that are trying to control the rejection that they've had in life, you know. Look, we've all had to go through failure, and we've all got things that they didn't work out the way that we planned. It's sore. But Flo, you don't wade into the survivor world and then try and, you know, run about taking your valour, mate, when you done nothing. When in reality, you were co-opting and working with abusers. And in some cases you were exploiting that lassie, which is on the chat log. You know, are yous all Johns? I don't know, I'm asking a question. I'm going to end this here just now.